In this video, I'm going to go over the course syllabus or some of the highlights in the course syllabus to point out some of the key features. I'll help you understand how the course is set up, the kinds of assessments that you'll be graded on, and my expectations for you throughout the semester. I'll also be sharing the course outline, which will also be another key document for you to be paying attention to, because it has a week-by-week schedule of what's being covered and what you're expected to do for that week. So the course syllabus on the front page, this is available in Blackboard, has my contact information in that blue box. The best way to get a hold of me is via email. If you call the department, it'll get forwarded to a voicemail. I will get an email with that, with an audio file very soon thereafter. But the best way is to get a hold of me via email. I'll try to get back to you within the day, or certainly within the next 24 to 48 hours. I'll have office hours each week. You'll see on Mondays and Tuesdays, 10 to 11 a.m. This is also pointed out on the Blackboard site. And in addition, on Wednesdays, we'll have a full class kind of help session for those that want to come. It's optional, from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. That'll be a time when people can gather to talk about problems, practice problems, review for tests, other kinds of questions that people have, etc. So it's meant to be an extension or add to the individual office hours. And you can also make an appointment with me for a Zoom session if you feel the need to do that as well. Just give me a day advance notice so we can schedule accordingly. I'll be using the Remind app in the course. It's an app that is used for me to contact you via your cell phone, and you contact me via my cell phone without actually having to exchange cell phone numbers. That's done behind the scenes and confidentially, and nobody knows what those numbers are, but it provides a really useful way of providing updates kind of at just in time, reminders, sometimes when things are due, or if there were updates posted in Blackboard. I'll also be emailing those, but students have found this to be a really useful tool, so I ask you to sign up for that. It's used in a lot of K-12 schools around the country, as well as in colleges. It's a safe tool. It's widely used. The book for the class is available via the Blackboard website. That's the way you get access to it. It's an e-textbook along with My Econ Lab, additional resources. Many of you have used a MyLab kind of book before, or set of resources. There'll be exercises out of that, weekly reading quizzes. It's something you need to purchase, and you can either, when you in the Start Here part of the Blackboard site, when you go there, as I've indicated in a previous message to you in an email, you'll have directions about how to get access to the textbook. It will take you to the site, and it'll ask you either for an access code that you may have purchased from the bookstore, or it allows you to purchase the e-text and My Econ Lab access directly from the publisher with a credit card. I believe it's $99.99. I'm not sure how much it is in the bookstore. Probably more than that. But you can make that decision, or you may have a voucher that you're using, or for some reason get it from the bookstore. But you'll need the textbook. Don't look for it out on the internet. Buy somebody else's passcode or that sort of thing. It may not work to be synced up with Blackboard, and that's going to be critical. So just follow the directions, and you'll be just fine. In addition, your subscription to the Wall Street Journal is required. We'll be using that. I'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about assignments, but you'll be asked to refer to the Wall Street Journal, to articles from the Wall Street Journal in weekly assignments to keep up with what's going on in the real world in terms of macroeconomics, new macroeconomic data releases, macroeconomic policy, macroeconomic analysis, etc. It's $4 a month. That is an incredible bargain, and the instructions for how to subscribe and sign up for that, again, are in the Start Here portion of the Blackboard site. We'll have other readings and resources during the semester. Those will be available through Blackboard. So the basic skills, technology that you need for the course is laid out here. You can read through that. You need a laptop. It could be a Mac, could be Windows, but not a Chromebook, not an iPad, not your phone. You really need a computer that has and good internet service. Another thing that's going to be important is either a printer with scanning ability into a PDF format file, or the Adobe Scan app, or there are other ones as well, but that one works really well for iOS or for Android. And you're going to need the ability to scan paper documents to a PDF file for homework and for exams. So it's good if you do that now, get some practice with that, so that doesn't become an issue, for example, at exam time and take away from your exam period, which will have a set period of time. Blackboard. That is absolutely the key for the course. Everything goes through Blackboard. Your grades, assignments, resources, videos, everything goes through Blackboard. I'll make regular use of that site, as it says here. Think of this course not as some kind of a correspondence course or something where everything is there at the beginning of the course. You can go through it at your own leisure. It doesn't work that way, and it's not going to work that way. Rather, we are going to be going through the course together, similar to what we'd be doing if we were meeting in person on campus. If that was the case, I'd be adding resources every week, the Blackboard site, telling you to go out and check that. The same thing is going to be true here. There are going to be resources added every week, probably multiple times a week. I will let you know about that via email, via course announcements page, sometimes with the Remind app. You need to be in Blackboard every day. All right, that's going to be your home for this course. So, what's the course about? It's important to have a good understanding about what the purpose of the course is, for you to understand how everything fits together in the course. This is one of two key theoretical courses in the major. Intermediate microeconomics, intermediate macroeconomics, and then econometrics, somewhat a little bit different, but another key core course. Those three lead into the capstone economics course, the economics seminar course. So it's critical that you really get a good grounding in these courses, this course included. So we're going to be building a model of the macroeconomy throughout the course. It's going to build from the really from the first chapter on through chapter 9, the last chapter that we'll cover in the text. And it's really important to invest time early on in the course, because the course builds from day one. And if you if you get behind at the beginning, it's really hard to catch up, because everything builds on the previous chapters. Right, and it's a step by step process. And when we get to the end, we've got a whole model of the entire economy, and the goal is to use that model to try and understand and explain economic behavior, economic growth, business cycles. So those are two big areas for macroeconomics, and to explore policy, and what's actually going on in the economy. It's really critical. One of the learning outcomes for the course is to be able to link the macroeconomic theory that we're going to learn about to what's actually going on in the real economy, and see how well the models explain what's going on in the economy or predict what's happening in the economy, and to find out where there may be gaps, or where the models do a good job with that. To do that, we're going to be working on your analytical thinking skills. This course is really all about that. We're not going to use calculus in this course as we do in the intermediate microeconomics course. We're going to be using algebra, and we're going to be using lots and lots of graphs. So it's being able to analyze things using that graphical model, right, which is kind of another language, just like math is another language that we use, but it's a tool, right? It's a tool for helping to analyze things, developing those analytical thinking skills. And so we use those models, mostly graphical models, to describe, explain, predict macroeconomic behavior, the impacts of macroeconomic policy, etc. Okay, so we're going to be doing that over and over and over again throughout the course. That is really a critical skill that gets built up. One of the things that's new this semester, that I'm making some significant changes, is we'll talk about what economists have to say, macroeconomists in particular in this case, have to say about issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the economy. It's not something that's usually covered actually in the intermediate macro course. You might find that surprising. It's usually in other courses, elective kinds of courses, but I'm going to make an effort to incorporate some of those topics in this course this semester, partly because of the things that have happened over the past year around racial justice and equity issues, diversity issues, inclusion issues. It's a big issue within the economics discipline itself, and so we'll be incorporating some of that in the course as well. And that's it'll be about a quarter of the course actually. So that's a new development this semester. As I mentioned, I want to be able to use the models that we develop, the theoretical model, to help explain, to predict, to analyze, right? And to understand how we can use theory to help explain what's going on in the real world, or to find out areas where that may not be matching up quite correctly, right? And then how do we change models in order to account for things that the models maybe aren't accounting for correctly in terms of the actual data. That's how science evolves. Theories change to match up with the data, and that's what we'll be focusing on throughout the course. Right? So it's going to be lots and lots of focus on analysis, right? And really getting into the weeds, thinking about that in a serious kind of way. This is a serious theoretical course, but it's linked directly to what's happening in the real world. And making those connections is a skill that is important for you to develop during this semester. And we'll have assignments, other kinds of projects that are aimed directly at that. So time required for the course, as I said, intermediate microeconomics in this course, econometrics, probably some of the most time demanding courses in the economics curriculum. Make sure you set enough time aside and regularly set that time aside in order to devote toward study, toward homework, toward other assignments, etc. in the course. If you get behind, it's going to be hard to catch up. So you can read this section for what that means, but you can expect a pretty significant effort in this course. And if you put that time in and put that effort in, you'll do fine. If you don't, it's going to be a struggle. As it says here, stay strong, or start strong, stay strong, and you'll be fine. But you need to practice economics daily. You can't cram for it. You can't just do it in spurts. That's not going to lead to a good result. Okay. And the schedule for the course is set up to help reinforce that. There are 7 different kinds of assignments that you're going to see during this semester that are going to contribute to your course grade, and the percentages that in the ways that they contribute, exams, and then that's pretty standard. Every week we'll have reading quizzes. We'll also have a posting and a discussion board around weekly and current macroeconomic conditions. And that's one of the reasons for reading the Wall Street Journal. That's where that is going to be discussed. And so those discussion posts are going to be related to what kinds of articles have been in the Wall Street Journal that week related to macroeconomic data, macroeconomic policy. And that is going to also be linked to this FRED dashboard project. FRED stands for Federal Reserve Economic Data. We'll get that set up early in the course, and that will you'll be using those weekly macro conditions discussion posts to help add to your dashboard as well. And both of those will help with this macroeconomic briefing report, which is due at the end of the course, which is, as it suggests, a report that aims to explain what's going on currently in the economy over this spring, and then make a prediction over the next 6 months based on economic policy, economic data from the spring, what the economy is likely to do over the next 6 months. That's exactly what some macroeconomists do. So it's a really an authentic kind of assessment. If we were in econometrics course, you could actually do an econometric model to make those predictions. We're going to do it analytically using the model that we're developing in the course. There'll also be homework exercises, and also some what are called just-in-time teaching exercises. As the name suggests, those will come up sort of just in time. They'll extend things that are in the course, topics that are in the course. Could be some additional readings. And those are things that may come up during the semester that aren't even there yet. Hence the term just in time. So there are a lot of moving parts in the course. It's important that you keep all these things straight. The course outline and calendar will help you do that, but it's really important that you keep up with things. There's an intentionality behind all of these assignments. They help you understand and help you build knowledge of the macro model, especially the homework exercises. And then we use that model to develop that macroeconomic briefing report along with what's going on in the real world, the dashboard project, macro conditions, discussion postings, reading from the Wall Street Journal, etc. Okay, so everything's tied together pretty closely and intentionally in this course. No extra credit. And I'll say something else once we get down here, and not only no extra credit, but for exams, for example, and for other work, there's just not makeup. You get to drop the lowest score for most items, even one of the exams. We'll talk more about that as we go along, but in the course. But that's one of the things that you need to understand up front as well. So there's more information about each one of those components, those graded components on the next page here. Here's the issue about makeup work that I was talking about. There's no makeup work. So if you have some emergency, a real emergency, it's got to be pretty serious. Let me know as soon as possible, not a week later, and we can discuss whether there are any whether there's anything that can be done or not. Let me say a word about group work and talk about academic integrity. There's a whole section on that in the syllabus as well. Be careful with group work. Group work can be really helpful. People working together to better understand the concepts and models, ideas in the course. But as you're well aware, it's a double-edged sword. You can get caught up in some really bad things, and you may not even be the one, say, to be sharing information in a group me, but rather you were complicit because you didn't report that others were sharing. You will also be penalized for that. So be really, really careful, especially around group me. Group me is we've had a lot of problems in the College of Business and Economics around group me, and to the extent that some students have even been dismissed from the university because of academic integrity violations or that came out of the use of that app. So it can be a useful thing, but there's a fine line between being useful and people sharing things that end up leading to penalties for students. So just a word to the wise there. Be very careful with that. Academic integrity. Okay. The honor code, I really encourage you to read the Dease College academic integrity policy. It was just updated in fall. The link is here. Read it carefully, and you won't be surprised, and it may influence your decisions in the course as well. Right? The kinds of things that could cause academic honesty and integrity violations are listed here. It's not a full list, but it gives lots of different kinds of examples. Comment about GroupMe, as I was mentioning before. All right. So, and it's not just actively assisting, but also not reporting when that kind of if you know about some kind of academic dishonesty or an academic integrity violation and you don't report it, you're complicit as well. I just don't expect that to be a problem, but I know it has been for some students in the college and even in the department. So I just want everybody to be aware of that and to be on your sort of your guard about that. Yeah. Honesty and fairness, that's what we're trying to instill. That's what we're trying to develop in our graduates, in the college, in the department. So we just want to remind you of that. Okay, on each assignment, you should have a statement saying I have abided by or have not violated the university's policy on academic dishonesty. I have abided by the policy on academic integrity. I prefer to think about it that way as opposed to academic dishonesty. You should be upholding the academic integrity policy. I'm not worrying about violations to a dishonesty policy. So variety of sort of basic responsibilities. I'll just say something about courtesy, civility, respect in your postings, in your communications with other students, with me, etc. That's expected. I don't anticipate any issues with that, but again, reminders are useful. Okay. This says here, if for some reason something comes up and you can't be participating in the class activities for some period of time, you need to let me know that right away so we can work together to be successful in the course. That's just another reminder here. Okay. Variety of other academic information, policies, etc., listed in this portion of the syllabus. Right, so you can those are all links. They're direct links to the information that's listed. If you have a disability that qualifies under the ADA and the amendments to the ADA that require accommodations, please let me know at the beginning of the course. That's really important. We can't make accommodations retroactively, only after you've gone through the process with the Office of Accessibility Resources. Then we can work out whatever accommodations are required for you. Okay, so if that's the case, please let me know early in the semester. Sexual assault, harassment, and misconduct, that's not just for when classes are on campus. It also is true for online courses. That will not be tolerated by the university. So be aware of the policies that the university has around that, and be mindful of creating a learning environment that is safe and promotes equal access, promotes equal learning by all students, an environment where people don't feel coerced, discriminated, abused, harassed, etc. Right? There are laws both at the university, or regulations at the university, laws at the state and federal level that govern that kind of, or any violations to that. And that's what this is about. If you need any help in the course, this is the section that provides links to tutoring and technical help, Blackboard support, support around the textbook, around my econ lab, etc. Those are all links that will get you the information that you need. And then finally, in the syllabus, there's a section on the conditions of your participation in the course. There will be an online form that I will ask you to sign off on that will indicate your agreement and understanding of these conditions. So just read through them, be clear about them, understand them. You will hear from me about how to complete that, but this is your copy essentially of those conditions. All right, lays out the expectations for you in terms of how you should make progress through the course. Okay, in terms of your actions in particular. Okay, and then I'll skip to another document here in a moment. This is really the end of the syllabus. And now we're going to move toward the course outline and schedule, which is in a different document. Both these documents are in Blackboard. So here is the assignments and academic calendar for spring. Gives you a week-by-week glance at the course in terms of the topics that are covered that particular week, what you should expect to learn, what you should be expected to be able to do at the end of that week or at the end of that chapter. It's really, most of these weeks are containing a chapter in the textbook and related material. And then the final column is the kinds of assessment items, the assignments, graded items that you need to complete that week and when. As you go through that last column for the different weeks, you'll see that there are things that appear every week. In particular, the reading quiz. There'll be a reading quiz for each chapter. At the beginning of a week, and then there'll be a discussion posting dealing with current macroeconomic conditions every Thursday. There are a couple of weeks when the reading quiz happens on Thursday rather than Tuesdays because of an exam that's on a Tuesday. But for the most part, that's the schedule. Homeworks will be due, and they're outlined here with this blue highlighting. Early on, they'll be due every week. It kind of really gets you into the material. That will lighten up a bit as we go along, because we'll have other things that we're doing as well. But early on, it's to kind of get you in the rhythm of the course. Right? So the individual chapters are listed here. The exams are listed as well. Those are highlighted, they're in red and they're highlighted. You'll notice that they're at 5 to 7 p.m. on particular days. This is the Tuesday of that first week, week 5 in this case, for example. And this is one of the weeks where then the reading quiz is on Thursday because the exam will be on Tuesday. The chapters covered in the exam are laid out here in each case. So every week you should know exactly what's happening and when. Okay. If there are any changes to the schedule, actually, I'll put the schedule probably in a Google Doc. If any changes need to be made, we can make them in that Google Doc. But this is the tentative and planned outline for the course. If anything happens that requires us to change it, I'll be letting you know as we go along in the course. Okay. So this goes all the way through. You'll see that the color changes here in weeks 12, 13, 14. This is the part of the course where I said we'll be doing some other things that are outside the textbook. There'll be some outside readings. Those will be laid out later in the course. We'll be talking about some topics like intergenerational economic mobility. We'll be talking about maybe the differential economic impacts of COVID and different groups in the economy, economic inequality, wealth inequality. Things like that during that last portion of the course. This is a new part that I've revised this semester. We're actually taking out a couple of chapters from the book and replacing that with topics that are not in the book and typically aren't in intermediate macro texts that deal with diversity, inclusion, equity in particular. That dashboard that we talked about, and you'll hear more about as we go along, is due in week 12, and the briefing report is due during finals week. There'll be an exam. That one's not in red, but it could be, and perhaps should be, but it won't be a final exam in the sense of the way I've usually done final exams, which have been comprehensive from the whole course. This will just cover that material that's in those blue weeks. At least that's the way we are proceeding right now. It's another big change in the course for me. So that's the layout of the course. You should make sure that you are familiar with what's in the syllabus. Most answers to questions that you'll have are in the syllabus or on this course topics and reading outline. You can see that there are a lot of moving parts in the course. There's a lot of different things that we're going to be doing. It's important that you keep up with them and keep them straight. I encourage you to have a calendar, digital calendar, where you're writing things down when things are due, and that you really pay close attention to those dates and to your activities, and that you really work this semester on time management and organizing your time, not just in this class, but in all your classes. I know it's hard to do that when all your classes are online. There's not the same kind of set schedule as there is when you have to go to a classroom on campus, but that's going to be really critical for your success. Again, not just in this class, but all your classes during this semester. So I wish you luck. I'm here to help you and assist you in the process, and I'm glad to get started.